You focused me on something in your column that becomes very simple as you stare at it, and that is that the impeachment clause of the Constitution, which is the only impeachment law that we have, was written for another country. It was written for a country that didn't have political parties.
That's correct. The founders were geniuses, but they couldn't anticipate everything. They couldn't anticipate the motor car and television and so on. And at the time that the Constitution was written, including the impeachment clause, there didn't exist political parties as we know them. They were very worried about, and they worried about factions. George Washington, in his farewell address, warned about factions and warned about political parties. And they actually wrote the impeachment clause as against there being political parties. So what's happened is what was supposed to be a bicameral process, the House and then the Senate, has really become a political party process where it's Democrats versus Republicans. That wasn't their intention, and it's one of the reasons you can't really, it doesn't work. The other thing is, as you know, Lawrence, very well, the Senate is the small conservative rural states have an outsized role in the Senate. So the Senate is not meant to be representative, and it's not. So it doesn't work very well at all. And I don't know.
In your interview with Congressman Raskin,
right.
The way he put it so clearly was, he said it's not two branches that govern Congress now, meaning it's not House and Senate, as you're saying. He said, but it's two parties, and one of the parties has surrendered reason and common sense. So it's worse than partisanship. You and I have seen partisanship in the past, but with each party having a recognizable philosophy to why they were disagreeing.
Well, that's Congressman Raskin's view of course, the Republican Party. He's an unabashed partisan, and he wanted it said that way. But the point is that impeachment is not now what it was intended to be, or what they intended. It did not last very long. I had a cold during the impeachment of Andrew Johnson, so I missed that one. But really, until Nixon, the subject hardly came up because it was seen as so awesome and frightening and alarming. You may remember that, Lawrence, when this first came up, the subject was, oh, my God, impeachment. No. Now it comes up every other week.
Yeah, it was genuinely inconceivable in the 1970s. I remember I was in college at the time of the Nixon investigation, and it went from investigation to impeachment in a way that surprised everyone. I mean, you were there covering it. And tell us how the Republican Party itself has changed from the way they behaved when their Republican president, Richard Nixon, was being investigated, and then impeachment articles drawn up in the House Judiciary Committee, how that Republican Party is different from today's Republican Party. Almost
completely. That Republican Party was much more moderate, and it wasn't vindictive the way it is now. I mean, people worried about Nixon, and Nixon had a following then. He still has a following. I could get pretty banged up if I criticize Nixon at all still. But the point is, it was just a very different party. The Trump party has taken it furthest of being not only radical, but very vindictive. I mean, anybody who votes against his interests, they're getting censured by their state parties. People are going after them. They worry about their personal safety. This would not have been conceivable in 1974.
It seems the 1974 Republicans were worried about what would happen to them politically if they were associated with a criminal. In other words, they were worried about their future by being associated with a criminal president.
Well, that's true, but there was the other side of it, too. When the Republican leaders went down to the White House, people get this wrong, and they say they told him to resign. No, they didn't dare tell him to resign. They said, sir, you don't have any support in the Senate. And he was a smart man. They let him to draw his own conclusions. But that was partly, it wasn't courage. They didn't want to vote. And so they wanted him to just make it easy for him by withdrawing.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.